Into this conversation. So there has been a great concern about the way people actually, conduct themselves in certain situations. Now, over the period, or over the years, if you like, there have been situations where a lot of people have attached that to the emotional intelligence of the people who are involved. Now, we've got a few examples that we're going to be sharing here on the show as we progress, but you would understand that there have been certain circumstances that even you, as an individual, you've sat down and asked yourself so many questions about how the people actually behave the way they did. And that's what we seek to understand this morning. Now, it is believed that 3.4% decline has been in 2021 among 10,000 samples of 140 countries. State of Heart survey by 6 seconds. Now, 40% severe gaps in emotional intelligence amongst 155,000 leaders globally. 22% of the 9 to 12 competencies and 88% between the 0 to 9 competencies among 155,000. Institute of Data and Corn Ferry in 2021 brought out that research. Now, a Gallup Emotions report was on 2022 and had 69% drop for the first time after several years of stability in 127,000 respondents in 122 countries. Now, there has been a decline, obviously, but we don't really understand why that decline. There was a report that, certain countries were rated as countries that are not really happy. People in the country are just not happy. And Ghana is part of that country. Obviously, there's too many going on, globally and all of that. But is that what is accounting for this? What's the impact? That's what we want to see and want to understand this morning here on the show. Now, for the purposes of this conversation, emotional intelligence, otherwise known as emotional quotient or EQ, is the ability to understand, use, and manage your own emotions in positive ways to relieve stress, communicate effectively, and also empathize with others, overcome challenges, and diffuse conflict. Emotional intelligence is the ability to also manage your own emotions and understand the emotions of other people around you as well. So, the police officer situation about the young lady who was murdered. Some people even believe that with that institutional background, a police officer, he could have handled the situation better. But he made his emotions took the best of him. There have been instances where people have been sent to certain churches and they've been made to believe that if they do certain things, they'll be able to meet certain whatever it is they want to meet in life. Especially some even believing that they could starve themselves to go to heaven. And pastors and opinion leaders are manipulating people in this regard. This morning, to help us understand the situation better, Scofray Nana Yeboah is my guest in the studio. He's a transformational coach. He's a certified professional corporate trainer. He's a consultant from Zoe Global Consult. And he's here with us this morning. Bro, good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning. I'm good. And how are you?
I'm good. Everything cool?
We did.
As for you, when situations like these arise, I always feel like you're in a better position and you do better than most of us because you understand it better. Now, one thing that actually beats my mind, and I want us to start on that note, is the fact that there are certain institutions when you belong, especially the military, the police service, and maybe in the Navy, or you can even say maybe aviation, because pilots are made to understand that if we're in a flight and I am a passenger and I feel a certain kind of way towards certain circumstances at a point in time, you should be able, as a pilot, manage that situation better. So how you even speak to me in your transmitter or whatever it is you're using will determine whether I'll be able to also stay with you in that situation or not. Why do we get to a point where we feel like people are not able to do or manage better situations like that? And when we say somebody is emotionally intelligent in that regard, maybe a book, yes, but practically, what are we looking at?
Thank you very much, my brother, and good morning to your cherished viewers. Recently, I was on a global AI expert dialogue, and I think we're two from the continent, one from South Africa and myself. What we are noticing, with the background of all the research you've propounded, is that when you are able to understand the neuroscience behind emotions, then you are able to support, guide and guard people to build it up. Because if you look at babies, any parent can say there's a point that between maybe 0 to 6 months or even 1 year, the baby who has not even fully grown the cephalic brain, the head brain, suggesting that even the limbic system is still not matured. You see these babies will be making faces, exploring something. The baby can cry, the baby can squeeze the face and all that. This suggests to you that emotions are a natural gift given to us that we don't choose.
Okay.
It's just like you don't choose your blood, you don't choose your DNA, you don't choose your genotype, it's the same thing. Because there are neurochemicals in your body that are supposed to serve you in the face of threat or in the face of opportunities.
Okay.
So these are the fundamental essence why we have emotions. But the beautiful thing about who we are as humans is that we are, I call it, we are emotional beings that have the ability to think. We are not thinking beings with emotions.
Okay.
No, we are emotional beings, yes, that have ability to think. Then also, if you, the examples you cited, neurologically, we are walking memories. Human beings are memory card. So we are like memory beings. So I could grow and nurture my emotions in certain specific areas and be depleted also in other areas of my life.
Okay.
So that is how come when you mention the armed forces, you mention security, intelligence, and all that, it will shock you that they are so exceptional when it comes to the job, but they may be so lagging when it comes to their personal life. And it's because of what you record into your body that sits with certain emotions. So if the person may be apt with your career, what we do, because there's a certain connection of value we bring. And values are resident in your heart. And the heart is the faculty or the headquarters of emotions in the body. It's the same heart that can transmit these emotions about 3 feet away through electromagnetic field of the heart. It does that. So if we become aware, that is the essence to why we tag the word emotional intelligence is basically is the knowledge, acknowledge, the awareness, continuously mastering, continuously gathering the insights that will grow those neurochemicals in you that pop up as feelings, that pop as happy, anger, rage, depression, and all that. So in actual sense, emotions are neurochemicals that last for 6 seconds.
6 seconds?
Yes, it lasts for 6 seconds, then cognitively able to label it as pain, hurt. So that is when we say feelings are labelings for emotions that have lasted for 6 seconds. So the more you record, your body records emotions in certain fields, let's say in your finances, in your relationship, in your career, in all that, it shapes you to master it in various jurisdictions. So the police officer could be well EI inclined in the jurisprudence of security parameters.
There's a different game of the emotions.
But not in relationships.
Wow.
Because if you go and backtrack his life, you may go and find deficiencies in the homes. You go and find deficiencies in how he grew up. You go and find deficiencies in how... So if you check emotional intelligence, your self-awareness is one that must grow first, mature, to be able to see that of somebody's and manage it from your end. So all of us could be having certain maturity in different areas, but not all areas. That is how come when you say intelligence, it makes it like a destination you reach. But actually, it's intelligencing. So you should have emotional intelligencing because we will continually master the emotions. So that he may be apt in security matters, but not in relationships. Not. So until you store and you continually feed emotions of various aspects of your life, it will shock you that this person, oh, he's acting this, and then you'll be shocked, like the way we are all taken aback in here and there, like the case in Kenya.
Yeah.
I mean, a lady who is gainfully employed, what will cause her to want to subscribe to such a cult that will want to fast and die, lost the son through the same thing, she herself top it up.
Yeah.
What will happen? Because she may not have the tolerance, because emotions have tolerance. It can go up, can come down. She may not have the tolerance because your virtue could anchor you to where we call, let's say, the human body. We have the autonomic nervous system. In there, we have the parasympathetic and the sympathetic. Your emotions that fire you towards high sensitivity and intensity could be at the sympathetic. So when you have values, you can drive it to the extreme ends of parasympathetic, and you will do things like they did.
Wow.
And if you have values, like the way we have values and we support football, people commit suicide when their team loses.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. So they go to the extreme end of the sympathetic without losing what there's something we call thermostat. We have thermostat in the human body that is supposed to regulate. It's supposed to cut when you reach a certain extreme. It's supposed to cut and bring you to the other side. A lot of us don't nurture all this. So EI is seriously a critical issue, not a theory, because it's a way of being.
So now we're seeing a decline. Like you said, people could actually naturally also move towards improving their emotional intelligence, but unfortunately, it's on the decline. Is it the environment that is contributing to this? What's the impact of it on society? Now, we've seen a few things that we've all stated over here, and some of them, when you hear, they're very silly. Like, how? You get it. So, is the environment contributing to this?
Okay, so let's take it a step at a time. I earlier said that the human heart, on its own, is able to generate electromagnetic fields. It is a frequency that you can transmit information through. So emotions are data and messages that your body brings to your awareness. Okay, so the more we generate what is happening in this studio, for instance, we are creating an electromagnetic field, depending on what we are emitting. And our body loves it when we talk about emotions. Our body, it likes it when we talk about emotions. It creates that serene atmosphere for it to occur. So the more that keeps on growing, whoever walk into this studio and stay here for like the next 30 seconds or something will pick it and also walk with it. So gradually, we create a link and a pool of that. So if you ask me, what is EI? I will tell you that it is being wise with your feelings ecologically. Ecologically in the sense that I can tap it from you, take it elsewhere, somebody takes it from where I drop it, like that, then it becomes a pool. And when that occurs, it creates a strong vibration that the earth has also got a resonance. The earth resonance also picks the same thing and can play it back to us. So that is how come when you pick nations like Finland and the Scandinavian countries that have matured in these areas, every time they are leading the happiness index, go and check their level of education, go and check their level of technologically, and it will blow your mind because they've made a lot of effort to hone their EIs as a nation. So
there's that possibility.
There is. There is. It calls for investment. It calls for the awarenessing. It calls for the seriousness. After the global report on the happiness index, which government entity have you heard pass a single comment on the decline of Ghana on the happiness index?
That's serious, yeah.
So that quickly should give you a certain awakening that, is it that we don't know? Because if you go and check the indicators that goes into the happy index, there are parameters. And if we fail in all, it means we are very unhappy people. And sometimes all that we are reading and hearing about are part of the evidence to let you know we are very unhappy people because our EIs. And why have we not started reading about the suicides? If we begin to go through that, you see, accidents on the roads all are attributed to lack of emotional intelligence.
Wow.
So until we're able to pick them into those phases, sectors of our life, then you realize that we are all connected in a way, whether you choose it or not. We are all connected emotionally. That's why I mentioned that ecologically. And not only within humans, but also even to the universe. And if the universe itself can absorb our emotions, multiply it and push it back to us. So when you give the universe expanding emotion, when we say expanding emotion, mostly we're talking about appreciation, gratefulness, graciousness, love, joy. When you're able to box this up through the electromagnetic waves to the universe, it multiplies and brings that same thing back to you. So check. So the more we grow to become unhappy people as Ghanaians, the universe will multiply it and bring us unhappiness.
Can we consciously be aware of how our emotions operate? Is this something you can study for a period of time and say that, okay, I'm a certain individual who believes A, B, C, D, and a point happened? I mean, because you pass it on to other people, like you rightly said. If we're in an environment like this and 5 people are there, people will just be picking up like that. Can you consciously know that, okay, this is happening to me at this point, and I feel there's the need for me to control it, or maybe my nature, I'm not able to, and so I'll just let it be and do whatever, or react any way that I want to react to this?
It all comes to what we call the knowing.
Okay.
Because when you pick, like I said, if you dwell on the intelligence that we're referring to is basically knowing. Knowing comes from awareness. Are you aware that some situations come through you and you label it as anger and stuff? Are you aware, perhaps by certain biological deficiencies, you get angry easily, you are happy, go happy, leave? Are you aware that how you were nurtured or you were raised in your family has got an impact on you? If you pick the human body, there's something we call the vagal nerve. The vagal nerve is like a thin line that sits between the brain stem down into your heart to other part of your body. In that vagal nerve, there's something we call myelin. Myelin, anybody in the deficit or damaged myelin is prone to severe extreme anger, because when you come into beneath your body like this, we call your dorsal ventral nerve. It is the VCC that is allowed to balance it, because originally you human being, you were designed for only fight and flight.
Oh, how's that?
It is because of how we evolved. You are designed for fight and flight. Then your freeze emerge as a balance to your fight and flight. So when you become aware, like I said, baby makes gestures. So for instance, the myelin, unmyelinated people who vagal nerve does not have sheet around them, have issues with extreme sympathetic emotions. And it starts from the home. Because if I pick your body right now, you know this chest cavity here, the heart in here, from the front, it's only 25%. But at the back, the 75% rather at the back. So how many times do we rub our hands at the back of our children? Where you radiate your good sense, the love, the joy, how many times do we do that? Because if you want a child to poo, you put the baby on the table and rub your hand on the baby's belly.
They do that.
We call it, that's actually your first brain. We call it the gut brain. That's actually your first brain. When you rub it continuously, the baby will poo. It is also a way you can speak into the child's quantum self. These are ways you manage and you grow your emotions. But we don't know. We are all reading here, even though we are blessed to have this, we call this the cephalic brain, the cardiac brain, and the gut brain. Even though this has got the limbic system that functions for emotions, we need to begin to hone people who can be 360 emotion sensitive and become aware. When you become aware, you begin to see what your triggers are. When you become aware, you begin. That is how I'm so concerned and passionate about this subject.
Yeah.
People who have difficult upbringing have difficult emotional intelligence. They can be so excellent cognitively, but they will be bad at emotions. You have a boss if you give him data, he will shred it. But he lacks people management skill, which is an emotional intelligence. If you pick the World Economic Forum, the latest publication that was done by McKinsey, the future of work is data, interpersonal relationship, self-leadership, and I think there is the fourth one. So if you pick self-leadership and interpersonal relationship, you cannot do any of those two if you lack emotional intelligence. So it means the future that we're talking about is AI, it is this and that. Actually, it's a future that if we don't manage our EI, science and AI will take over for our distraction. That is how come we have ethical, this ethical here and there. So emotions are a critical fiber of our humanity that we cannot take it for granted. Because from your hair to your toe, you are more emotional from the head, because when I'm just picking it from the brainstem, even from the limbic. Because all that we think we are smart is just here. Your prefrontal cortex, the brain behind the skull here. That is all that does your logics. So everything else is emotional. It's neurochemical. Why don't we pay attention? So we are emotional beings that can think than thinking beings that feels.
If you just join us here on the show, we're looking at emotional intelligence this morning here on Prime Insight. My guest in the studio is the man, Scofray Nana Yeboah. He is transformational coach. He's a certified professional corporate trainer, a consultant, and is coming from Zoe Global Consult. This morning, a lot of technical terms. It's a very eye-opening conversation. Some of the things we're hearing, I'm sure a lot of you will be going like, okay, so even on my back, there's something that I need to be careful of, and I need to even work on, if you like, because all the attention is always, oh, my brain, oh, my mind, oh, my brain. So we don't look at even the heart and what it transmits, how it even connects with people and others and all of that, So we have a lot of work to do. Now, let's look at the components of emotional intelligence. I mean, you see self-awareness, you see self-regulation, you see internal and intrinsic motivation, empathy, and all of that in there. All of these things are things we're supposed to pay a certain particular attention to.
Of course.
In the processes of making sure that we're able to get better, or we feel these are things that are around us, and with so much, interest, we'll be able to define where exactly we stand. Look at the reports that have come. I mean, obviously you realize that too many things have gone wrong already, but we're not looking at them from that perspective. Where we've got into right now, what is the most thing that we have to be doing as an individual? That one thing that everybody has to be aware of.
Well, first of all, we are sharing in this discussion, if you can come to appreciate that you are an emotional being that thinks.
Isn't that going to be more of a weakness to us?
No, it's not.
Because at the end of the day, you would rather want to be more on there.
It's not.
This is who I am, Dan. This is what I can become. Or this is what I can do to change the narrative.
So I'm going to say something. Okay. What you think you are does not invalidate the whom you don't know.
Okay.
What you think, because the thinking is as a result of what you were told. For example, somebody gave you a name. Somebody modeled how you must behave.
Yeah.
Somebody took you into a church or a religion. So by the time you get to a certain point, there is more of what you think. Because all that was done for you, recorded it here into memory. Then the confrontation begins to emerge. It's just like the teenagers. Then their body begins to bubble. Then they find difficult to know what this and that and that. So it is out of these conversations that people will begin to pause and realize that you are a more emotional being than a thinking thing. So if you are a more emotional being than a thinking thing, what have been the investment into the emotional being that you have not done? And like I said, let's take it even from babies. And how often, like I told you, do you rub your hand at the back of your child?
People don't even know. I'm hearing this
for
the first time. Yes, I've seen people do it, but the science behind it, whatever idea behind it.
It's a lack of knowledge. Interestingly, our forefathers knew it anciently. This is actually not new. Science just caught up with these things. Anciently, it was there. So that is number one. Then two, anytime you hear emotions, the first thing that comes to people's mind is anger.
Yeah.
Which is a misconception. In actual sense, emotions It's the labeling, it's the feelings that we have, the anger, we have the fear, we have the rage and all that. So even in actual sense, there is no positive or negative emotions. This, you see, the more you alter your languaging and your labeling, your body begins to respond different because you are now becoming aware. So when it manifests, you can relate to it better. So let's take it for example. I was telling Rosalind that the shot that occurred in Kumasi, that gory incident. Anger is one of the most powerful gifts we have. It is a way you demonstrate something in the face of threat. It is there to serve our good and our interest. Like like fanfare, happiness and stuff. You realize that you cannot be happy 24/7. Something is wrong with you. The same way you cannot be angry 24/7. Something is wrong with you. So when you cross the thresholds of the limit, and maybe you have been doing it for a period of time, so the thermostat that's supposed to cut you. Let me give an example. Kids, they cry to a point you're like, their thermostat have kicked in. Give the child maybe 1 minute, they will sleep. So sleep short circuits that sympathetic nature. So sleep is a parasympathetic gift in the nervous system. But as we begin to grow, we stifle that thermostat. So the man, they could be nurturing the anger in the relationship for a period of time. And that moment, rage, which is the extreme end of that high intensity, contracting emotions. And that moment, that is how come when you are emotional, logics fizzle out. So if you are a logical being, why is it that at the brink of that, you will not be able to think? But because we are beautifully hardwired, so the more you grow these out of you, you realize that your thermostat, your autonomic nervous system matures for you because that is your true core you. And there was a picture they showed in multiple brain integration. We've come to analyze that all these three brains you actually have also emit emotions. So when you lack the awareness, ask the ladies when they are menstruating, the emotions that puff up, they even stop thinking. All that they care about is the pain, the cramps they're going through beneath their belly. But we don't pay attention to what it is communicating. And a lot of times, because people accept it as, oh, it's pain. What if you are not paying attention what you do before evolution? Before you ovulate, you have not paid attention. Maybe your eating pattern, your relationship pattern. If you have all this insight, emotional intelligence, you will begin to manage even that very well. The same way, I have a doctor friend, Dr. Brainerd, and when we're doing a research also in what we call the pelvic intelligence, do you know men also menstruate? Oh. So whatever happens to women in the month, we go through the same thing.
With them or...
With us, guys, we also menstruate. So that emotion...
Maybe you sympathize and then you help them go through the process.
We go to our own biological menstruating.
Wow. So
if you have no knowledge of this, Charlie, the door day, yet there are some period in the month, begin to observe. You become moody, you become imbalanced, you become all this. Perhaps you're ovulating. The only difference is that you don't shed blood. So that's why it's called menstruating. Whoa. So it is some of this awareness that is important. It's the knowledge you are getting. Okay. So for instance, there's psychogenetic pains. There are pains that come as a result of stacked emotions. There are times you have heaviness, there's some pain in your elbow. You have not lifted in it, you have done anything, but there's some pain in your elbow. Something, it is sending you a signal. It could be at the back of your neck. Every depressed person, check how they complain, bodily pains. My back hurts, you are heavy. That is psychogenic pain. So if you are not an emotional being, how could emotion lump up in a certain part of your body? It can even be in your stomach, it gives you stomach aches. Then you realize that, wow, but these discussions are not held. These conversations are not held. The another challenge I have come to identify that I said.
We'll get to that, Mr. Scofray, but let's look at some of the cases that have been reported. And we're talking about death cases that have been reported. Now, in the medical cases in the first half of 2021, these are how the statistics actually look. And I mean, you could attribute it to any other thing you want to attribute to, but the conversation we're having over here plays a very important role in what we're looking at right now. And this is it. So 313 reported cases of murder, and confirmed cases we had about 307. And this is from the Ghana Police Service. Now it's on the screens right now. Now there's regional distribution of it, and so we want to take a look at it and see what role, where you live actually plays in this murder cases conversation we're having right now. And so if you look at it, Ashanti region has 73, which tops. We have Greater Accra region coming next to it, and then we have Central Eastern region, and then the Central region. We've got Volta over there, and Bono East over there, Bono, and then you move over to Western, and then you have Upper East in that order. Now, the OT has the very least one. Obviously, that place is still, becoming what we want it to become. So maybe, yes, we may just, brush over it. But 73 in Ashanti region. Greater Accra was next to it. Are these places that you think that way? You think that we should be there?
So let's use Greater Accra for instance. How many of us have observed that anytime you drive past Ayimensa, you drive,
you don't want to breathe.
Yeah, or you drive past Pram, you drive past Kaswa into Central region, you drive past Nsawam. Have you noticed something serene occurs to you?
That relief.
That relief. Have you noticed?
Yeah.
So you see what I was talking about? We have choke junk emotions within this faculty of our lives called Accra. It's the same thing everywhere. Except we become conscious. If we can feel that, how did you feel it? Because your body is a working memory, and your body even knows I've exited a junk space. And that is how come it brings to your awareness, it's refreshing.
Yeah.
This is the ways we must begin to learn. So in my trainings, the neuro-emotional intelligence trainings we do for effective managers, like top hierarchies, we do a lot of breathing. I should have brought a device to check your...
We'll do that next week, or maybe Friday if you can, because because of our time, we're looking at having a part 2 of this, so we can practically look at some of these things. If there are equipment that we can use in letting people understand even better how their system works, I think it will be good for all of us to understand. Because one thing that you said that was very important from the beginning is the fact that other countries have taken this very seriously. Unfortunately, I've not heard any opinion leader or any whatever it is, sit anywhere and even have conversation around this, and that's serious.
So that is where some of us come in, and we are trying to raise the concern. I think the first one, I wrote an article on that, got published in the sister station website, and this time we're having this conversation. Then also, I will also call on my other expert and practitioners. Don't keep quiet. I think I did an article for the Ghana Psychology Association, raising some of the statistics that it does not look good.
Does it? I'm just, let me play the devil's advocate. Does it just not look good in your eyes because that's where you're coming from, and you understand better the situation, and it's not looking good in our eyes because
we say ignorance is not an excuse. That is the unfortunate thing. So if I know from expert point of view that we even take decision in this nation without feelings, instead of taking decisions and pause and ask, how do we feel about these decisions that we are taking? If you are going to contract loans, how do we feel about what the loan must go into? If we are designing overpasses and all that, what is the feeling investment in it? We don't do feelings. Our leaders are doing thinking.
Mr. Scofray, we'll end here, but hopefully on Friday, let's get that practical aspect of it, and then as much as possible get to understand this. I mean, this is very, very important conversation. If you look at the stats and the way they're looking, some of the weird things that you hear people do, people complain of. Sometimes you feel like, how did we even get here in the first place? But unfortunately, that's what is happening. And so we're going to be trying as much as possible to do our best to also, elaborate more on some of these things. But I'd like to say a big thank you to you for coming.
I'm humbled.
As always, you're always here with us, and we're excited that you always make time for us to have conversations like these, and we're grateful to you. Let me see if I can read this real quick. This one says that this discussion has been so eye-opening. Please make the video available on our social media platform. So he's streaming it, actually. We're streaming this conversation, all the conversations on our social media. But if you're not able to grab that now, maybe if you're busy somewhere, later our social media handlers will make sure that they make it available to you, and on our YouTube page as well, so you can also learn something from there. Really, Friday we're going to continue with this conversation. Once again, Mr. Scofray, thank you so much for coming, and we appreciate what you do. He's a transformational coach, a certified professional corporate trainer, consultant from Zoe Global Consult. Now you can find him on social media, right?
Of course.
Yeah, so the name is Scofray Nana Yao Yeboah. That's the name you can find on social media. Friday is going to be here, so we'll continue with this conversation here on emotional intelligence. Now,